Assad ever spending money in America so that I can't talk about his crimes.
All right, over to stuff.
Okay, thank you so much. Lorian says, anyone who has dealt with a demented relative knew long ago. My grandfather lived to 100 and was clear-headed. His cousin, who lived to 114, was driving a car by herself at 111 and driving to malls to walk around with no cane or walker. Wow. His mother lived to 116. Wow. Polly, thank you for that info. State of politics, everyone I don't like is Hitler. Savage. Thank you for those, folks. Seamus is in Australian public hospital services such as TV or internet connection. This won't leave you financially ruined. Seamus. At L Chris 1234. Thank you for that one. Vincent says remember friends gaslighting you about his dementia, and they forget, like they have dementia. The most extreme expression of anti-Semitism today is from Netanyahu and Israel. Hammock.
So here is
back to Jim.
So here is Fetterman, right? What's his first name? John Fetterman, who's the
I thought it was Igor. Okay,
who is the senator, the Democratic senator from Pennsylvania. He beat Dr. Oz. And so Fetterman says it right there, calls Trump a singular political talent. And I just want to let you know who this is. A costume he's wearing, just like Michael Moore pretends to be slovenly and dress like a regular person, even though he has gray hair, and he cares because he still dyes his hair. So Michael Moore puts on a baseball hat, try to look like a regular person, even though he's worth $50 million. It's a costume Michael Moore's wearing, just like it's a costume that he's wearing.
Didn't he wear
That's right. Oh, yeah, he knew how to put on a tie when Netanyahu came, his real boss.
Did he?
Yes. He put on a suit and tie. So this guy's wearing, I'm supposed to believe this guy's wearing board shorts in frickin' December in D.C. I mean, I know it gets, and he's from Pennsylvania, where it also gets freezing cold. I mean, I know it gets cold in Pennsylvania. Louis Mangione didn't even get rid of his murder coat.
We went to the McDonald's in Beltudo.
That's right.
Yeah.
He kept his murder coat.
It was
So this means that either this guy walks around like the Hulk short pants all year, or he changed into that outfit for the camera.
Yeah.
You think he's walking around in 0-degree weather and short pants, or did he change into that for the camera? Either way, it's weird as shit.
Yeah. I bet he has those track pants that you can snap off, those workout pants.
So let's watch him. I'll watch him. Remember before Donald Trump was the literal Hitler, and I'll watch him stab Kamala Harris in the back. Watch this.
And after you survived an assassination, you literally were shot in your head, and had the presence of mind to respond. Fight, fight, fight. I mean, that's a political talent. It's undeniable. And also, I never believed that it was about fascism. And for me, that made it difficult for
Kamala Harris said that he was a fascist.
Yeah, well, it's like that's her prerogative. I mean, but it's not a word that I would use, because you put a lot of Democrats, especially in my state, that I know, and I happen to love people that are going to vote for Trump, and they are not fascists. And also fascism, that's not a word that regular people, use. That, I think people are going to decide who is the candidate that's going to protect and project, my version of the American way of life. And that's what happened.
Oh, he likes Trump's Israel policy.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Yeah. I didn't really put on a suit for Netanyahu. That is the most suspicious thing I've ever heard. Because he fought a rule in Congress to be allowed to wear board shorts.
That's right.
But he cleans it up when Netanyahu comes in with his year's worth of dry cleaning for the president to do.
There's one thing we know about you. If one thing we know about John Fetterman, Kurt, is that he stands strong on whatever position is popular this week.
Yeah. Well, whatever his handlers tell him.
That's right.
Because that guy's him putting on a suit for Netanyahu is probably some kind of spy signal.
So there he was. I gotta compliment him for having the coordination to be able to accurately stab Kamala Harris in the front.
Good for him.
Good for him.
I mean, is it even a stabbing? I think she's better off not being the president, because I don't know if you know all the things about how Joe Biden's senile and they had to prepare him and then he sucked anyway. Kamala Harris must be senile because Joe is better than her. And that's at his worst. At his FU, if you can't handle it.
I know.
Years.
Okay, over to Steph.
Thank you. Medicare covers the cost of hospital, clinical services, doctors, and specialist fees, medication, hospital accommodations, and operating theater fees. That's what Seamus says. JD, come on. There's a way to get free health care in the U.S. Join the armed forces and transition. It might not be the health care you need, but it is the health you want. Thank you, El Cazador. Aren't the same people moral policing for the United Healthcare CEO also the same people that joked about Donald Trump's death and demonized half the country? Kids Corner. Did I hear Candace Video say Yahoo asked videos to not record, but there was at least 2 angles? Seems like a propaganda kinda. Linley. Yeah, that seemed a little off, right? I hear you on that one. The COVID vaccine is not a vaccine. It is a bioweapon. Rhythm and liberty. Liquor giant vaccines trade acute infectious disease for lifelong autoimmune disease. Liquor giant. Where truth is undermined, a critical area of public health, you'll probably find the fingerprints of the unholy trinity of science, Harold Varmus, Francis Collins, and Tony Fauci at the crime scene. And that's Seamus. Back to Jim.
So guess what? According to the president of Slovakia, Zelensky's caught in a bribery scheme up to 500 euros. 500 million euros. And what is the bribery scheme? The bribery scheme? The bribery scheme is that Zelensky wanted into NATO. So he was going to bribe this guy with 500 million euros. That's what he said. So let's listen to it. You can turn it down a little. He said, I was surprised by such a reaction from Zelensky. I was surprised by Zelensky's reaction. That in the principle, any option that Ukraine would transit gas via... Wait, hang on. Would transit gas via any of the routes was ruled out. Because there is still an opinion that any route, if it passes through Ukraine will carry Russian gas. Again, that's what this whole thing is about. There's several things. One was it was about weakening Russia so they could overthrow Assad in Syria and give part of that country to Israel, which is what they're doing.
Well, Turkey was in on it too.
And Turkey was in on it. It's all about they wanted to put a gas pipeline from Iran through Syria. They didn't want that. They don't want Iran to be able to put a pipeline and give energy to Europe. They wanted that pipeline to come from Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Do you see what's happening? Okay. So that's what he's talking about. And that's why they blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. The Nord Stream pipeline carried cheap energy from Russia to Germany. And the United States wanted to sell that gas. And so we are. And now Germany's economy is tanking because they're paying such high price for energy.
Well, you see what he said? If it passes through Ukraine, it will carry Russian gas. That's how corrupt Ukraine is.
Yes.
They don't want it to go through Ukraine because they're still going to buy Russian gas.
That's right. He absolutely ruled that out. Zelensky, he has stepped in with proposals that seem absurd to me. For example, he will agree to transit gas only if we don't pay for it before the end of the war. So he's willing to let Russian gas come through Ukraine to go to Europe only if Europe promises not to pay for it.
How would that even... What?
Right. This is what he's saying.
That's a cokehead. That's cokehead plans.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
What kind of fool would give us free gas? As we were nearing the end of the meeting, Zelensky returned to the topic of gas and asked me if I would vote for Ukraine to join NATO. If he would give me 500 million euros of Russian assets. So with Slovakia, of course, I immediately replied that I would never. You just know my opinion on Ukraine's NATO membership, which is no. And it is strange that he asked me such a question.
Yeah.
Because he knows very well that inviting Ukraine into NATO is absolutely not acceptable.
Yeah.
But we are helping Ukraine. I would expect Ukraine to help us too. Tell me how to explain this to the Slovak public. I'll be thinking about it all Christmas long. People will tell me. And you will continue to supply him with electricity and send humanitarian aid. I cannot completely rule out that is the in this regulatory measures from Slovakia, which will be real. Why would I not do that? If he has decided that there will be no transit of energy from Russia to Europe, so that, God forbid, someone does not get money for their gas, even though the Russians, are still selling the gas, somewhere else, then we have to ask why our countries should have one-way traffic. Why it should only go from us to them. Why can't there be some kind of solidarity towards us? He's saying, why should we give you aid? Why should we give you arms? Why should we give you stuff? But you won't help us. We need that energy.
Because Ukraine is their Israel now.
Yes. So there you go. It's all about, just so you know, it's all about oil and gas. It's all about Israel. That's what's happening in Ukraine. And it's all about balkanizing Ukraine, meaning chopping it up into pieces and selling it to BlackRock. They've already sold half their farmland in Ukraine to BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard. They thought they were going to be able to do the same thing to Russia. They thought they were going to be able to put such a hurt on Russia economically that people would overthrow Putin, and then Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street and the economic hitmen from the West would come in and carve up Russia and sell it off. That's what they thought. It didn't work. Russia got even stronger now than they were before, and they started combining with China, which is the last thing that, if you're in the West, you would want.
They don't even like each other, and we pushed them together.
And here it is. Here's the big bribery. Zelensky caught in a 500 million euro NATO bribery scheme. And that's from Robert Fico, the Prime Minister of Slovakia.
Yeah.
And why did Zelensky think paying off Slovakia would help in the first place? I mean, I don't think all this hinges on Slovakia. I'm just saying, I think Kamala Harris paying 6 times to recreate the set for Call Her Daddy podcast for 6 times the cost of the original set, that was probably a better use than the money paying off Slovakia. That's all I'm saying.
Their vote is, what are they, the George Clooney of NATO that makes the final call?
And this is the same guy who got shot, right? Isn't this the same guy who got shot? After
the guy that I said somebody wants to get shot because he was going to investigate Pfizer.
Because he announced he was going to investigate Pfizer and COVID.
Ukraine something.
Yeah, and then he immediately got shot.
By a 72-year-old man with no history of violence. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow. I miss the old sweet Zelensky days when he just wore a rubber suit and high heels and danced for money.
You know, the guy, say what you will about him, he plays piano with his dick.
So you're telling me Zelensky, the leader of the human trafficking organ trade and money laundering hub of the entire world, is offering a bribe?
And not to the right people?
And not to the right people.
Do you think that Slovakia, I still don't get what he's, and they're giving him electricity and what else? And they have to not have gas. Well, like he knows the reason why is because America and England and Europe, you know, the more prominent NATO countries want it that way.
That's right.
That's why he's probably baffled at Zelensky coming to him like he's going to do something. A guy.
Next thing you're going to tell me is Zelensky's scratchy voice is from all the cocaine he's doing to keep himself running ahead of his own conscience.
Yeah.
So if you don't know that all the Russian oil and gas would come through Ukraine to go to Europe, well, that's why they built the Nord Stream pipeline that bypassed Ukraine and it went directly to Germany. And that's why the United States blew up the Nord Stream pipeline.
Yeah.
And
It was
now,
America, it was
and
no
now
one else.
Europe and Germany are suffering. Their economy are tanking because they now have to pay double, triple, and quadruple the price of energy.
Yeah. All that
Since we
dumb
did
shit.
that. And they still, for some reason, still go along with the United States and the Western economic hitmen. And I'm guessing it's because they're all being bribed and paid off, and the ones that aren't, or blackmailed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Their governments their coalitions are all collapsing, all of them.
Yes.
All of the WEF.
The
leaders of
WEF.
tomorrow. Yeah.
They are collapsing.
So that's why. But they can't let go because you don't want them tapes coming out.
Even the UK's prime minister is screaming about open border policy was done intentionally. The guy who was cheering it on 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So their governments are collapsing. And I have a story I'm not going to get to today about how the whole economic system is a scam in Europe right now, and that it's been opaque. And that they
Oh, you don't
haven't.
say,
Yeah.
I feel like I know this story already, and I haven't even heard it yet.
For 10 years. We'll get to it maybe on Friday. Anyway, over to stuff.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, I was talking to Roy today, and he was saying that his mom's visiting from Canada and that their dollar is only worth 50 cents.
No kidding.
Yeah. I'm like, oh,
Ooh,
huh?
road trip.
And then we're all excited about Trudeau stepping down. I think, Jimmy, you mentioned was like January 26th. He's
27th.
27th. Hanniser says suspended from X today for inauthentic behaviors. Quote, you may not use our services to engage in inauthentic activity that undermines integrity of X. If you attempt to evade a suspension, we will suspend your new account. Hanniser.
Hey, if Canada becomes a state and their socialist healthcare goes away, will that mean that Canadians will be refused for suicides? Like, does that mean they'll have their suicide denied?
Don't laugh
Tim
about
Hortons
that.
is
That's
not paying for this.
serious. That is serious stuff there, mister.
Well, their clothing stores are advertising their suicide machines. Do you remember that?
Oh, right. Marcus Aurelius says, Trump said he will withdraw from the WHO. Marcus Aurelius, thank you for that one. You sound like a smart guy. I wonder if this CEO assassin has helped music royalties of Chuck Mangione. That would feel so good. Fret pound.
So you remember,
Mr. Jim Jim.
So you remember this guy? This was Trump's lawyer at one point, and then he completely they were going to throw him in jail unless he flipped on Trump, and he did. So he flipped on Trump, and then he became the biggest Trump hater. And he's always welcome on CNN.
He was going to leave the country or something, wasn't
yes,
he?
he was going
to. Yeah. Not to.
Well, guess what? Now he turned again, and now he's defending Trump on CNN. You think
What?
Yes. When Michael Cohen suddenly does an about face and defends Donald Trump, get ready to see all your shit lib friends suddenly walking around with red MAGA hats because the TV told them it was okay. You think I'm kidding? Watch this.
Fascinating.
The conversation. President-elect Donald Trump filed a defamation lawsuit against ABC News, and that resulted in a $15 million settlement, meaning ABC News had to pay Trump $15 million for lying about Trump.
Yeah.
The lawsuit stemmed from, okay, we don't need to go into that, but here we go. So here it is. Watch this.
The poll was wrong. Many of the polls are wrong. They've been wrong for many cycles, but it's not like this is the only thing that has been said in the news from either side that is not true.
I hate to say it, but Scott is actually right about this one. I hate to rarely agree on anything. He's right. He's right. He's right about this in the fact that sloppy journalism, sloppy polling, and what they did. Look, I was the recipient of more than 100 lies. And I understand what Trump is doing in terms of changing the way defamation cases are brought in this country. You may remember the allegations I was in Prague. Never been to Prague. I was in Czechoslovakia. I paid $10 million to compromise. I have a house next to Putin in Sochi. None of this is true. On top of that, there was another one that came out as an example where I allegedly was paid $400,000 by Poroshenko to create a meeting between him and Donald Trump during the presidency. That is also not true.
So do you think it should be easier? You believe it should be easier?
No, I think that media has to do their job. They have to actually, they need to get the facts
wait a
right.
second.
Wait a minute.
That's always wrong.
That's what they're saying, but wait a minute. You just said they were wrong. Them, the media, just said, hey, everything was wrong. This is how you know they're not humans, they're aliens, because for many cycles, they use space sci-fi terms instead of years. You know, they've been wrong for years is the term. They look at time a different way than you as a human. Cycles.
So, and they'll never take responsibility. The media is always like...
Hold on.
So they're all liars. They're all paid liars. And there is Michael Cohen telling you they lied about me 100 times. I'll lie after lie after lie. That's when they thought he was favorable to Donald Trump. And as soon as he flipped, they stopped lying about him. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
100 lies about Michael Cohen. Well, take a number and get in line, MF, because the average American has to absorb that many lies if just in one day if they watch cable news.
Right.
It's one lie after another. From lies about Bernie Sanders when he ran against, lies about Russiagate, lies about Seth Rich, lies about Ukraine, lies about COVID, lies about Syria gas attacks, lies about lies about Joe Biden's not being demented. It's
that's a cheap fake.
It's all lies. They lied about everything at every turn. Okay, we got to do a So I mean, that's amazing. And they didn't expect Michael Cohen to say that. They did not expect Michael Cohen, who has been the biggest Trump hater since they threatened to throw him in jail if he didn't turn into a Trump hater. So he did.
Since Cenk Uyghur, the biggest Trump hater.
The poll was wrong.
That's right.
Many of the polls are wrong. They've been wrong for many cycles. But it's not like this is the only thing
Let's
that has
watch
been said
this
in the news
again.
from either side that is not true.
I hate to say it, but Scott is actually right about this one. I hate to say it because Scott and I very rarely...
So the reason why he's allowed on CNN is because he's been lying. And he's turned on Trump. And now he finally is like, I got to tell you the truth. So now that Trump won, now everybody's flipping, just like Cenk Uyghur. Oh, you know what? Turns out, So now he's flipping back. Watch.
Agree on anything. He's right. He's right. He's right about this in the fact that sloppy journalism, sloppy polling, and what they did. Look. I was the recipient.
So it's not sloppy. It's on purpose. This is intentional. They lie.
It's sloppy.
More than 100 lies. And I understand what Trump is doing in terms of changing the way defamation cases are brought in this country. You may remember the allegations I was in Prague. Never been to Prague. I was in Czechoslovakia. I paid $10 million to compromise. I have a house next to Putin in Sochi. None of this is true. On top of that, there was another one that came out as an example where I allegedly was paid $400,000 by Poroshenko to create a meeting between him and Donald Trump during the presidency. That is also not.
So what he's literally doing on CNN is repeating lies that CNN told. Those are all lies that CNN told, not someone else, at some other news agency, at the place he's at right now. The place that's currently paying him who told all those lies nonstop. And now they bring him on because now he's a truth teller because they thought he's going to tell some more lies about Donald Trump.
You know, I don't always tell lies, but when I do, they're about Trump.
Okay, we got to go. All right. Merry Christmas, Kurt. Have fun. I'll see you on
guys.
Friday.
Bye, buddy.